Hey, welcome back to SC Budget Studio. Today we're going to review a digital mixer from Behringer. It's the X AIR XR18. I found a couple of reviews and articles about it for live use, which is really what it was made for, but it's actually a fairly capable recording device for a home studio or otherwise, or recording live um, shows or whatever. I have it set up here in my home studio, so let's jump in and see what this thing can do.
Okay, sorry about the mess here, but I just want to do a quick overview of what the unit looks like physically. This is the whole mixer. This this box right here, this little box, it's made out of metal. It feels pretty durable. Power goes on the side. There's a fan that runs. I haven't heard it, so it's pretty quiet. It does have wireless, and we'll kind of get into that when we get into more of the software and how it's supposed to work. But the antenna is there. It also has a Ethernet cable input, so if you don't want to use wireless, you can go right in. That's how I'm doing it. You can see, it's got 16 mic inputs and 6 aux outs and a main left-right out headphone jack and volume control there. And then there are inputs 17 and 18 are line ins. Of course, these XLR jacks are the combo jacks, so both 1/4 inch and XLR. It also has this Ultranet plug-in, so if you wanted to buy one of Behringer's, personal monitor mixer devices, they're pretty nifty. They can plug right in here with nothing extra to buy. So basically, $250, and you can have a personal monitor mixer, which is nice. And then the USB port. The XR18 has the USB port that allows it to have a full 18 channel in and out recording interface to go to the computer. So I'm using that to run into my computer. Okay, back here at the computer now. Let's dive into the interface. Just real quick to describe kind of the concept of this mixer. It's a digital mixer all in a box, and there are no faders or knobs, and they're all controlled through software that you can connect to the unit through a network. So it has a wireless interface if you wanted to connect a tablet or whatever straight to it if you didn't have a network to connect to. Here in this setup, I have it plugged into my home network and my other devices. My computer in this case is what's running the software. But like I said, there is an iOS app and an Android app. I'm really only familiar with the Android app and the computer app. I haven't run the iOS app, but it does exist. Okay, so let's dive in real quick. So if we go over here to this is the this is sort of what the interface looks like when you first pull it up and connect it. You kind of have a quick look at all the channels and kind of a brief look at what is turned on, what the EQ is set for all these. A lot of these are flat, and then I've got some fairly drastic EQ on some vocals and a little bit on kick and snare. For the most part, it's flat, so you can kind of get a picture of that from a distance. If we click this channel tab, then we get a little more information about each channel. So we're on channel 1 here. You've got a level meter, phantom power, phase, so you can reverse the phase of the input, and a stereo link button, which is how you connect two inputs together as like a stereo channel. So it mimics all the settings of channel 1 over to channel 2. So you can adjust the gain in one spot, you can adjust the EQ in one spot, and it will affect both channels. This input section here just determines where the input is taken from, whether it's taken from the analog input over on the physical mixer or from the USB return from a recording software or something on the computer. So I have these set to USB. Most of my inputs are set to USB for this. For the purposes of this demo, I've pre-recorded some, a chorus of a song just to use for demonstration purposes. So that's why this is set to USB. I'm using Sonar for my Multitrack software. You can use whatever Multitrack software you're comfortable with. I prefer this one, but that's just me. So if we go ahead and click play on this pre-recorded stuff, you can see it's all my inputs are running back from all the tracks that I laid down earlier. So for this demo, I have 6 drum tracks, a couple electric guitar tracks, a bass track, a couple more electric guitar tracks, and a couple vocal tracks. A lot of what I have, I've got compression, so every channel has compression in this mixer, which is really nice. So if you click the compression, you can get full control over that compressor. It does have a few presets here, which are kind of nice to get you started into, like if you're not super familiar with compressors and how to use them. You can click like the kick preset and it will pull up sort of a generic setting for a compressor on a kick drum. You've got a gate on here that you pretty straightforward. You can set all the settings for a noise gate. EQ, this might take a little getting used to. You sort of just grab the frequency and move it up or down based on how you want it. I sort of prefer knobs. Even like a software knob I think would be preferable, but I've gotten used to it and it works for me. Sends, here's your aux sends. We showed those earlier on the box. There are 6 of them. And then these are the effects sends. There are 4 effects processors. And if we go to effects, you can see what has been selected here. And there are 4 stereo processors. So some of them have stereo effects and some of them have 2 mono effects, like this compressor. I have this inserted on 2 vocal tracks. So you can insert a compressor on channel 11 is what I have here in channel 12. So you can put them into, whatever channel you would want to insert them into. So they don't just have to be like send-based effects. I also have this exciter set up that I used to have inserted into the main output over here. I was doing when I was recording the tracks, I kind of wanted to mix them down into like a final mix, and so I inserted it on the main left-right output and tracked it back down and mixed it down to then go on to mastering. The meter tab here is basically what it looks like. It'll show you all the meters for all the sends and returns and bus outputs and USB returns. And if you've got alternate, anything going there, it'll show up. So I'm going to hit play on this just to so you can see when there's actually an input going to these channels. So yeah, you can kind of get an idea for what that looks like. It's pretty neat. I'm pretty impressed. So sort of what you're hearing is just a chorus I recorded, and I think it sounds pretty good. I mixed it down and mastered it, and it's on another video that I posted. So I will put the link to that down in the description of this video if you want to hear what it sounds like completely off of this Behringer X AIR18. I did mix it down to what's the name of the software. Audacity, and I used that to master it. So I used a bit of compression in Audacity. So that would be the one thing that did not come straight from the XR18. But everything else is purely XR18. I don't have any effects running from Sonar. It's all effects that are running to here. I take that back. On the vocal channels, I added a little pitch correction in Sonar. So it doesn't really affect the sound that much, but it fixes my voice, which is, my pitch isn't great. So that's the only thing that's running in Sonar. Everything else is full XR18, so it sounds pretty good. I'm using 48K in terms of the sampling rate. From this, you can switch it to 44.1 or 48K. That is the highest it goes. But it sounds pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I was able to get a pretty decent recording and really didn't do much to it. Just kind of tracked it in and then layered on some guitars and added a little, some of the effects here you can kind of see, a little reverb, a little chorus on. I think that was just for on the vocals to thicken them up a little bit. Everything else is just tracked in and played back. And I like this, the way they make it easy to switch from the analog end to the USB end. So you can track the drums, and then once you got a good track, you can just push the button on the drum channels, and they will play back through the USB input, and they're on your same faders and everything. So I will show you one thing on the in and out for the USB sends that send 18 channels over to your computer. You have a lot of control over where those sends are taken. If you right click some of these, so this basically is saying channel 1 is routing out channel 1 of the USB interface. You can take straight analog, or you can be analog plus mute. So if you want it to not send, if you have that channel muted, you can take it there. Input, I'm not exactly sure what the difference between analog and input would be, but there's pre-EQ, post-EQ, pre-fader, post-fader. So you've got a lot of flexibility in terms of where you want to send that signal over to the computer. I've left it at the default, which is pretty much analog. Basically it goes analog through the digital converter straight over to the computer, which at first I didn't think I was going to like, because I wanted the compression and stuff to be actually recorded, but it's actually worked out pretty nice, because you can set all your compressors the way you want to track it, but none of that will take effect on the tracks. But then when you play them all back, it should sound pretty much identical to the way it was originally tracked, and then your compression will still, you'll hear that then from the tracks. And so if you decided, I compressed that a bit too hard, you can back it off, and it's not a problem on your recording. So that's the XR18. A lot of stuff I didn't get into. Just if you're new to mixers, there's a lot of features here that you may not be used to, but anyone who's familiar with a physical analog mixer, it's got all those features. And in addition to, you can save the settings to disk. You can load presets, so you can be working on a job or a project and move on to something else and change everything, and as long as you saved your last one, you can pull it right back up to where it was before, which is pretty neat. So anyway, appreciate you all tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will be posting some more videos, going through the process of some of the recording through this interface soon. So feel free to subscribe to the channel.